this gives me an opportunity to raise a point on which I agree with D'Angelo, and I actually think it really shouldn't necessarily be attributed to her per se, because it's not. I mean, it's obvious, I guess, but I think it's page 44 of her book, maybe, but she talks about the psychic burden of race, which is, the idea that, white people being in the majority, they're not necessarily going to be thinking about being white in the same way that black people would be thinking about being black.
It's not just about them being the majority.
Yeah,
that's a very, very narrow way of thinking about it.
Well, okay, we can get it, but the issue is that it being in the majority, there's a whole system of norms that arise out of that and so on. But
it's not just about that. You can't limit your discussion about it to that.
Okay, you can explain to me in a second, but the psychic burden of race strikes me as a very significant point. And Michael Eric Dyson, in an interview a couple of years, talked about going on U Street in DC. It was late at night, and a drunk white kid is harassing a cop, and his immediate reaction is, "Oh no, he's gonna shoot the kid," and then the cop doesn't, and he says, "That's what we want," because I guess his immediate thought as a black man is that the cop is going to pull his gun, and so that kind of reflexivity or whatever. Or D'Angelo uses the example of Patrick Rosal being mistaken for the help, at a black tie event or whatever. So the consciousness of race as something that might work against you, if that's the way to say it, is I think that's a very powerful point.
Yeah, it's not even a might. Like, it will work against you in some way.
Yeah, so I think that's a very powerful point, and I wrote an article about it, and it's something that strikes me as completely obvious.
Yeah, I mean, it's not obvious to a lot of people.
Yeah,
a lot of people have no concept of that. So, yeah, but it's definitely a real thing, and those kinds of instances that you're talking about happen to literally any black person who interacts with any white community or any situation where white people are involved. Like, these things happen all the time. Like, I mean, even when you were talking, I was thinking about like tons of situations that have happened to me were just like rolling through my mind. That's our lived experience, which is, something that's often rejected by people as being any evidence of anything at all.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be.
Okay, well, that's good that we agree on that. I think that that's a huge point of contention right now in this kind of dialogue.
So I agree, and I think that, I mean, for me, the issue comes down to simply, I mean, I'm a Socratic at heart, and every situation to me presents all sorts of complexities that I just can't come to definitive answers on things, and I just need. So that's maybe a bit of a failing, but generally speaking, it just strikes me as indisputable that if you grow up black, I suppose you're going to face realizations on average. I think that's an important point that I try to. You're going to experience realizations that are very different than what you experience, say, being white on average. I mean, like, I don't know why that should be a point of contention.
It's a point of contention because people don't want to acknowledge it, and they never have. That's part of the issue. That's part of the real problem, right? Is that people don't want to acknowledge that there are their fellow citizens who are experiencing that. They want to believe that everyone's living the same type of life, right? And that's why even like 20 years ago, it was very common for people to say that we're living in a post-racial society. Because, especially even after that, when Barack Obama, became elected, people were like, "Oh, we've reached it, the pinnacle," and it's like, it's just people will find any way possible to dismiss it, and that has been the case for generations. So that is part of the system of anti-black racism that has existed in America for a long time, and it gets dismissed. It gets dismissed even to this day. that like that dismissal is part of the system that we need to unravel.
As you stated there, I agree.
Thanks for watching. For access to the full-length conversation and all of the 2-hour-long unedited conversations that I've had on race, click the support link in the description below. Thanks for your support and see you next time.